Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. My name is Donovan Richards, the Queensborough president for our great borough of Queens. I would like to thank all who have joined our virtual parent advisory board meeting this evening. We have the School Construction Authority with us this evening who will do a presentation on the $19+ billion capital plan for fiscal years 2024. And we are anxious to hear about what this means for the borough of Queens. You will learn about new construction projects and needed upgrades to school amenities coming to your school district and how you can include a capital request for your school. For the parents, school principals, and school staff who are live in the chat room, please write in your topic related question for the Q&A portion of the meeting as well. Please make sure that the questions are written clearly. Thank you. And just a quick announcement, the application to apply for the Queensborough President Appointee position for the Community Education Councils for each school district in Queens is now available. If you are interested in applying, please email education@queensbp.org. I think I got that right, Monica?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
All right, perfect. So education@queensbp.org. I'm excited about all these new email addresses we have in the office. Now I'd like to introduce to you my staff member, Monica Gutierrez, my Director of Education, who you just met. We have Deborah Dillingham, who is the Queens PEP representative. We have Ariel Davidov, our education coordinator. Where are you, Ariel? I don't see you. Carolina Gill and Tiffany Eason, who will be on monitoring Zoom. And Chris Barker, our press representative, and he will also be monitoring our meeting on our home webpage, and Aldo Grillo, who's our tech director. So I want to thank you all for pulling this together. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our guest speakers from the New York City School Construction Authority. I'll start with External Affairs Managers Danielle Schaff and Ben Goodman, who will do a PowerPoint presentation on the SCA's capital plan for fiscal years 2020 to 2024. And after that, I will pass it back to Monica to start Q&A. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat box. We ask or Q&A, I think Q&A box or whatever. We ask everybody to remain respectful, of course, and let's try to get some stuff done for Queens and for our schools, most importantly. So thank you. I'm now going to pass it off to the School Construction Authority.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Borough President, for your warm introduction. I'm Ben Goodman from the School Construction Authority. I'm joined by my colleague, Danielle Schaff. We have a presentation for everyone here with us this evening, walking through the February amendment to the SCA's 5-year capital plan. So 1 second, I'll share the screen. I'll also go through the presentation. Okay, so the SCA's mission is to design and construct safe, attractive, environmentally sound public schools for our students across the many communities of New York City. And we're dedicated to building and modernizing schools in a responsible, cost-effective manner while achieving the highest standards of excellence in safety, quality, and integrity across the SCA. So for tonight's meeting, we'll discuss the general overview of the FY 2020 to 2024 capital plan, as well as discuss the February 2021 amendment. So in terms of the plan and the projects, the total plan proposed for February 2021 is $19.3 billion across the city. And we'll get into what that means for Queens in a couple minutes. But across the city, the total plan is 19.3. There are 3 main buckets that the SCA funds. 8.92 billion for capacity. Capacity is new school seats created by the School Construction Authority. 6.72 billion capital investment. Capital investment is anything the SCA does to keep our school buildings in a state of good repair. So such as new windows, new roofs, any major repair of that sort. Lastly, 3.63 billion is for mandated. Mandated is anything the SCA is required to do pursuant to state, local, or federal law. So a quick example is our boiler conversion projects moving towards clean energy across the city. So a couple of quick highlights from the plan: 7.8 billion for over 57,000 new seats in fulfillment of the mayor's commitment to reduce overcrowding. Moving towards making 50% of elementary school buildings partially or fully accessible, and a third of all buildings fully accessible across the city. Continuing to work to bring air conditioning units to all classrooms by 2021, and that's electrical work for that initiative, as well as continuing support of the 3K and Pre-K for All initiatives. We'll take a look at some of the centers that have opened across Queens, including additional funding for technology enhancements, money for improved ventilation, as well as 50 million for the new Ideas program. So new capacity in terms of those 57,000 seats, that helps us identify the need, as well as including District 75 seats for our District 75 students, as well as taking a look to lessen any school dependency on those mini buildings, modulars, and temporary classroom buildings. Continuing again, the 3K Pre-K initiative, replacement program. Our replacement is a particular program for school buildings where either the lease is expiring, the SCA needs to relocate that particular school program, or the building in and of itself is no longer functional as a school building and needs to be torn down and replaced. An example for Queens that we'll take a look at in a couple minutes is the proposed new building for PS 47 in Broad Channel. Continuing with the class size reduction program from the last plan, as well as a new item, capacity to remove TCUs for 180 million. So as most folks probably are aware, TCUs are classroom transportable temporary classroom units or trailers in our schoolyards. We've tried to remove as much as we can. However, the remaining TCUs, for the most part, do require some new capacity for us to bring the students and staff into the main building. We do have a project in District 27, PS 96, that we will build in addition for that school, and we will move the TCU. So in terms of new schools, we'll take a look at across the districts, across the borough. District 24, we're proposing about 1,100 new seats. There is a school sited at 6902 Queens Boulevard in Woodside for 476 seats. This is the PS 143 Louis Armstrong new addition on 113th Street that opened this past September with 980 new seats. The outside taken from the rooftop of the new playground, as well as the new public art piece in the lobby. The PS 128 edition on 65th Drive that opened in this past September as well. IS 419 on Astoria Boulevard in Corona, opening next September with 646 new middle school seats. District 25, there is a proposal for about 5,600 new seats. There are two additions cited so far for about 1,000 new seats at PS 169 and PS 32. For PS 129 edition, opened in September with 548 new seats. So there's the new cafeteria and the dance room. This is an exterior view of the 32 edition. anticipated to open in September 2024. This is the rendering of the new addition for PS 169, anticipated to open in September 2024 as well. District 26, there's a seat need of about 2,500 seats, and there's 3 identified projects so far. Additions for PS 46, 26, and 41, with 1,386 new seats. This is PS 361 that opened this past September. This is a rendering of the new addition for PS 46 in Bayside, opening September of 2023. This is where the 26th edition will be located in Fresh Meadows. And this is a massing of the PS 41 edition, also opening September of 2024, just to give folks a sense of the new edition size and the space. District 27, if we're proposing 1,776 seats, we do have that replacement project for PS 47 for a new building, as well as a capacity to remove the TCU at PS 96, which will result in a new building for 96, a new addition connected to the existing building. This is the PS 256 annex in Bell Harbor that opened this past September. And this is the rendering of the new replacement building for PS 47 in Broad Channel. It's anticipated to open in September of 2023. And this is an exterior view of the 96 edition where it will be located on the property on Rockaway Boulevard. So District 28 has a seat need of approximately 2,800. There are 2 addition projects for District 28 in the pipeline, in addition to PS 174 in Forest Hills, as well as in addition to PS 160 in South Jamaica. This is the rendering of the PS 196 edition in Forest Hills, anticipated to open in September of 2022. The PS 206 edition anticipated to open in September of 2023 in Regal Park. So District 29, we are looking for a new school site in the Hollis subdistrict. Rendering of the PS 131 edition on 84th Avenue, opening in September of 2022. That project is now in construction. We have some photos of the ongoing work. District 30, its proposed number of seats is approximately 3,000. There's 3 projects cited thus far. PS of Parcel C in Long Island City, the annex for PS 85 in Astoria, and the middle school in Long Island City on 45th Avenue. This is new PS 398 that opened September of 2019 in Jackson Heights. This is the rendering of the new addition for PS2 in Astoria, anticipated to open this September 2021. PS 375 in Long Island City, anticipated to open this September as well. This is the rendering of the new middle school on Barnett Avenue in Sunnyside, anticipated to open in September of 2023. PS 341 on 54th Avenue in Long Island City, anticipated to open in September 2024. CPS 85 Annex in Astoria, anticipated to open in September of 2024. So for our high schools across the borough, we do see a tremendous number of seats that are needed. We will be in construction shortly, a new high school with approximately 3,000 seats on Northern Boulevard in Woodside. That site is now a testing center for COVID-19 that we built for our colleagues at Health and Hospitals. We will be proceeding with the bid and award to find the general contractor to build the high school with an anticipated opening of September of 2025. There's 3 additional projects also for Queens. We did just find a new site for a new high school on 165th Street and Hillside Avenue, which we will be beginning a public review shortly. So this is Francis Lewis High School, the new annex on Utopia Parkway in Fresh Meadows, anticipated to open September of 2022. The Academy of American Studies, the new building on 28th Street in Long Island City, anticipated to open February of 2022. The annex for Cardozo in Bayside. And that new high school on Northern Boulevard in Woodside, anticipated to open in September of 2025, with approximately 3,000 new high school seats. So the pre-K and 3K initiative, we'd open a few centers across District 24, totaling approximately 500 new seats for pre-K. This is the center on 75th Street and Broadway that opened this past November. This is the new pre-K center at the Hall of Science on 111th Street in Corona, anticipated open September of 2022, with 306 new pre-K seats. We are going to build a new 3K center in Far Rockaway on Beach 99th Street with 120 new seats, opening September of 2022. The District 29 Pre-K Center on Springfield Boulevard opened this past September, as well as a 3K center on 220th Street and a center on 207th Street and Jamaica Avenue. So in terms of the capital investment, these are projects the SCA does to keep our buildings in a state of good repair. We handle the major capital improvements in our existing building. Our colleagues at the Division of School Facility are responsible for the day-to-day maintenance and repair. These include our custodial engineers, plant managers, facility directors, and as well as our colleagues in DSF Central. Our agencies are separate but work closely together to maintain New York City school buildings. So an important question just to pause here and ask is, how does something become a capital project in the SCA's plan? There is a couple of different routes. The first one is through BCAS, or the Building Condition Assessment Survey. Every year, the SCA does a roof-to-cellar inspection of our buildings. If something is found to be needing work, it is rated. The ratings are found on the DOE's website for each school. There's also problems reported directly to school facilities and emergency issues. And the last 2 items, the funding from elected officials is through the Resolution 8 program, we'll discuss in a couple minutes, as well as any citywide initiatives. So capital investment for District 24, totaling approximately $99 million. So a couple of quick examples: the PS9 roof replacement, exterior masonry at PS 153, as well as PS 93 and the elevator installation. District 25 is approximately $63 million worth of capital investment and mandated. This example here is the boiler conversion at Junior High School 179, as well as the roof replacement at PS 219, exterior masonry at PS 79 and PS 20, at Flushing High School, exterior masonry, roof parapet repair, as well as exterior masonry at John Bowne High School. District 26, there's 29 projects identified to date, totaling approximately $38 million. Exterior masonry at PS 115, PS 205, a boiler conversion, PS 31 and PS 811, a roof and boiler conversion at PS 205. District 27 has 51 projects to date, totaling approximately $52 million. The auditorium upgrade at PS 90, a TCU removal and playground upgrade at Building 226. For Rockaway High School, exterior masonry, roofs, parapets, and repair to the pool and the gym.
I paid for that gym now, but go ahead.
The window replacement, a roof and parapet work at MS 53. Sandy mechanical work at PS 42 and exterior modification at PS 254. The boiler replacement at PS 104 and PS 124. District 28 of 54 identified projects totaling approximately $81 million. Forest Hills High School facade repair, exterior masonry. Roof repair at Junior High School 190, at PS 99, and exterior masonry at PS 40. A science lab upgrade at MS 72, and roof and parapet and gym work at PS 99. PS 160, the roof parapet and chimney repair, as well as the TC removal and playground redevelopment at PS 354. District 29, there's 56 projects, totaling approximately $72 million. Exterior masonry, PS 132, electrical upgrade for the AC initiative at IS 238, and flood elimination work at PS 37. The PS 36 boiler conversion project. District 30, approximately $50 million for 44 projects. PS 151, TCU removal and playground redevelopment. Chimney and gym floor work at PS 69. PS 222 in Jackson Heights, interior rooftop playground work. And for the Queens High Schools, there's 69 projects totaling approximately $79 million. And the work at Far Rockaway High School. So the funding from elected officials, that is the Resolution A program for funding from your borough president or your local council members to fund specific school improvements. So there's a couple of different projects. To give examples, your elected officials have funded auditorium upgrades, library upgrades, upgrades to the playground, science labs, and a lot of new technology projects. There have been 375 funded for $51 million from FY15 to the current in District 24. Example of this auditorium upgrade at PS 13. District 25 has approximately 279 projects funded as major highlights. Auditorium upgrade at PS 193. For fiscal year 20 in District 26, there were 37 projects. Playground renovation at PS 133 in Bellerose. District 27 had 35 projects funded for fiscal year 20. a library renovation at Far Rockaway High School, and a playground upgrade at PS 104. District 28 had 40 projects funded in fiscal year 20. Examples are PS 54 playground, the PS 121 auditorium upgrade, a PS 80 dance studio and computer lab. District 29 had 31 projects in fiscal year 20. A PS 147 playground upgrade, as well as a playground upgrade for IS 231. And District 30 had 65 projects funded in fiscal year 20. An example is technology for District 30 is a laptop cart. And for high schools, for fiscal year 15 to the present, there's been approximately 1,500 projects totaling $306 million through the Resolution A program. The Far Rockaway High School library upgrade. Long Island City High School, a culinary lab and kitchen. So the standalone gym program to provide physical education spaces for schools that do not currently have a space. We opened a gym for PS 81 on Cypress Avenue. And for PS 36 in District 29, a standalone gym that's currently in construction. So thank you again, Mr. Borough President, for allowing us to present this evening. This is our contact information for myself, Danielle, and our External Affairs Director, Michael Mirasola. Questions regarding the Resolution A program can be directed to our colleague, Bianca Almedina. And we please ask that if you are around in your neighborhood and you do see sites that you think might work for a new school, approximately 20 to 25,000 square feet, about the size of a supermarket, if you could please send them to Danielle or myself, or our general email to solicit sites from our colleagues in government, as well as our parents and community members, sites at NYC SCA.org. Thank you very much. We'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. And I'm going to turn over to Monica in a second, but let me just start off. Can you go back to, Queens has historically been shortchanged on school seats, and I'm happy to see some progress in this area. Can you go back to District 27? What are you doing there? And the reason I mention that is there's obviously a lot of growth happening on the Rockaway Peninsula, and it's an ongoing story. I think today there were another 1,800 units of housing approved out there, and I know SCA has set aside some sites for potential schools. But I just want to hear a little bit more about, are you thinking in terms of about expansions anywhere there, or new schools? Because we know that, over the course of the next decade or so, we're going to see 10,000 new units go up there. Don't all answer it.
So the SCA's capital plan does take into account new housing starts, and we do update it every year with new data. So in terms of that Far Rockaway area, that general part of District 27, there is funding for a project in the Seaside Bell Harbor Breezy Point sub-district of the peninsula. And again, we work closely with our colleagues at City Planning and HPD to determine, if a new school is needed. We will update our plan as we do every year to reflect any need for new school seats.
So I'm not going to spend a lot of time, because there are a lot of questions, but I just want to say to you, Seaside and Broad Channel are nowhere in the geographical area of downtown Far Rockaway, where there are 3,000 units going up as we speak. And this has been an ongoing conversation with SCA. So I'm really hoping that we'll stop playing this cat and mouse game and really get there. And this is a conversation I've had with Lorraine. let's not get behind on this when there's a need now. So I don't want to spend all my time there, but just wanted to make sure that I pointed that out because the school seat needs are going to be there, and we're playing behind the eight ball. Just some other things I've heard just in my travels, and Monica's going to go through, some questions we've received. Let's talk about Forest Hills for a second and the need for more open space here. And that's been something that I've consistently heard from the school community here is, while they appreciate the expansions and which are sorely needed, there's relatively very little green space for children to play or learn in Forest Hills. So are you thinking about, and this is one thing I thought of, just put in my former hat on as the former chairman of the Environmental Protection Committee. Are we looking at utilizing our rooftops in any way? And I understand this is a growing community as well. And, we are always appreciative and never going to fight against school additions, but what are you thinking in terms of open space and green space for the kids in this neighborhood?
So for Queens, our borough is, I guess, more lucky than some of our other boroughs where we do still have the real estate when we build an addition or a new site, that we have the capability of ground level green space for our kids, and having those schoolyards and outdoor recreational spaces on ground level. We will take advantage of potential rooftop playgrounds and green spaces when it fits the site. A lot of our new additions that we're building, the mechanical components do take up a lot of the rooftop space, our RTUs, our air handlers, and then we don't always have such an excess of space left over to provide a worthwhile green space or a rooftop playground. But again, like especially within District 28, where we did, for example, the 144 edition, we were left with still having a pretty huge schoolyard available for the students. They started out with quite a big space, and we were able to maintain a very big space for them as well. Same is to be said with other sites within Queens, but we will always look to provide, number one, recreational space for our students, outdoor recreational space, and number two, when allotting green space for the community and the school as well.
So I'll say, I'm just wanted to put that on your mind so you're thinking about it. Also, reimagining what our streets look like in some of those cases. Is there a possibility of doing open streets? Which the city has this new open streets program, and I'm not giving any solid proposals tonight, but just reimagining if there are opportunities, perhaps in the vicinity of some of these schools, to make sure kids can get outside and get fresh air and actually have some open space. That would be something I think we should think about as well. I'm going to move on from that because I have visited the Baccalaureate School for Global Education, and this has been an ongoing issue. And there are some schools that don't have any gyms. So I know that they specifically were looking at a site across the street from their location and wanted to get more of an understanding. And I've toured the school, and it's sad that kids have to play gym inside their lunchroom, which is like, I think my conference room in here is bigger than their lunchroom. So what are you thinking in terms of schools with similar conditions? What are you thinking of?
So we are looking, and we do have, I would say, certainly we do look to improve the physical education spaces, for schools. We've done that with the gym program. There's been some other capital dollars have gone into improving physical education spaces. However, the SCA does not make a determination as to what particular school organization can utilize an existing building or any new capacity, rather for that matter, that we bring online. So we've suggested to that community that they speak with their superintendent, as the best folks to assist them with trying to find a new space for, anything the SCA does bring online, that perhaps the DOE would like to move that school organization into a new building.
Well, that sounds like the runaround. So, so I mean, there's prime real estate across the street. I mean, there has to be a way for us to put our minds together and figure this out, because it is unacceptable that they even have to walk down the block to the nearest park and hope that another school is not utilizing that playground as well. So I hope we can continue to work on this and that you hear me loud and clear on this. I want to move to conditions in some other schools quick. I did a call with principals 2 weeks ago. Eagle Academy, unacceptable conditions there. I think they're having leaks on their roof, and so I'm interested in knowing what can we do to rectify some of the conditions that are there temporarily, but I mean, long term, it looks like they may need a new building, and we really don't want our kids, coming from COVID-19, where many of these kids were impacted more than most others when it came to the impacts of COVID-19 and deaths in their families and high rates in the neighborhood. Like, we don't want them going back into schools in poor conditions. So that's one location I want to put on your radar. And then York College, I'm blanking on the name, Academy, York College School of Sciences. Am I getting it right? Am I blanking on it?
High School for Math and Science.
There you go. Their conditions there as well, Warren. So I've instructed Monica to schedule some tours on these issues, and I'm hoping that we can get out there and look at these locations and try to come up with some permanent solutions on how to make sure kids are learning in quality spaces that they're worthy of.
Could I just add to the Eagle Academy, because Eagle Academy, the school was assured that by last June, and we understand that COVID came into play, but that school, they were supposed to be addressing those leakage problems for the previous year before that. So, that really should be elevated to a high priority, because they were assured last June that would be rectified. And then for the High School of Sciences at York College, and I'm sure the BP will end up over there if you have not already been there. They've been asking for space now for about 8 years, and to expand that programming. And we are always told that there is additional space on that campus at a meeting like this, and then we're turned around and told there's no space to build an addition there or a separate building, and yet it comes up every year that they want additional space. And the two other issues, the baccalaureate issue, again, has been going on for several years. And when that property became available on, I think it's 35th Street for the new building, there was a discussion about perhaps moving baccalaureate, because at the time there was no space available. The BP now knows of space that is available. So there's probably a sit down that's necessary on that to ensure that this is a high school. We're not talking, this is a high school that's basically situated in an elementary school. So it can't offer what the kids need at that level. So that's an issue. And the issue that nobody talks about in Forest Hills is Forest Hills High School, that's on multiple session, is so overcrowded, and all of these other schools are getting additions. And yet Forest High School has multiple sessions from early morning till late almost into the evening. So that would be something else that we'd really like to take a look at.
If I may, I just wanted to try to answer some of the questions of the points that were just brought up. One was to start would be Eagle Academy. So yes, the Eagle Academy roof is well on SCA's radar as well as our real estate department. This is a lease site and the roof and that portion of the building is falling under our landlord obligations. They were to make repairs and due to COVID and a shutdown of work, they were not able to. They have, when the shutdown was lifted, the landlord did make immediate repairs to watertight the building temporarily. They are proceeding this spring with permanent repairs as a solution for the Eagle roof and to waterproof that building. So within the next few months, that should all be completed at the Eagle Academy. The
Next
other
month, right? Next month?
No, within the next few months. It's starting this
The
spring.
spring
Spring
started.
has just sprung. So I would anticipate BP within the next like 3 months that we should have
We're talking about the summer then.
March to April, April to
Oh,
May,
okay.
May to
Oh, no.
June.
Okay.
Yeah, I would hope by the end of June that the building the roof repairs would be complete.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to also disclose and just so everyone knows, when there is a COVID shutdown at a school site, then our SCA contractors are not permitted to work. That's our protocol. I'm not sure what that particular landlord's protocols are with his private hired contractors, but that could influence, just like weather could influence the end date with that.
They haven't been to school,
Yeah.
so.
But it has been elevated and we are well aware of it.
All right.
Mhm.
All right.
Absolutely. Regarding High School of Sciences at York College and additional space at York campus, so that one I would need to follow up with. I'm not familiar with how that space would be ascertained or the beginning of the negotiations when it's already it's a university and we have to see. I personally don't know. So we will definitely follow up on that one. I believe Deb had mentioned Forest Hills High School, and this is a site that has an overcrowding population at that location. Francis Lewis did also, I think it was the most overcrowded high school in Queens, and they are getting relief coming soon. Cardozo also was overcrowded. Not to dismay, the Forest Hills is overcrowded by about 1,000, I believe, 1,000 enrollment, and which is why they have the shifts. There is always, we would gladly explore the feasibility of some kind of an annex or an addition at that site, barring DOE support and superintendent support of placement there. We always will explore every possibility to try to help alleviate the overcrowding and space issues that are in our borough. I think I'm missing one. I'm sorry. Deb, what was the other one you had asked?
The baccalaureate,
Oh,
someone didn't,
baccalaureate.
yeah, there's a site on 35th Street that's available.
Yeah, just maybe worth the discussion. Number one, if what the BP is asking, which seems quite reasonable, because that area, and I only know this BP because this is pre-you, is that I spent a lot of time touring the empty buildings around Baccalaureate for space. And at the time, there were all these lease issues. But if that's no longer an issue, I don't know the priority of the principal, but if the priority is to stay where they are, then yes, we should be investigating that. But at the same time, if that can't come to be, and we have this whole new building going up that's literally down the block from where Baccalaureate is, then Baccalaureate should be considered for placement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just thinking, putting, in a post-pandemic world, or assuming students are going to return if they haven't returned already there. I don't see how you socially distance in that building. I mean, the hallways are tight, especially for high school students. And this is something I saw last year sometime when I toured. It's just it can't work. So we need to to get creative there. And, and I'm very grateful for the principal who's done some great work there and the teachers and staff, but they really need the space. To build that space is for like elementary children.
Right. Yeah,
But not-
absolutely. Absolutely. And finally, when we're talking about building, we're talking about building on the Rockaways, which, I was just out there recently and it's amazing what's happening there. And there's also a ton of building going on, as we know, in Long Island City, which is sprouted from nothing to a metropolis. And then now along Queens Boulevard, it's following through to Rego Park and into Forest Hills. And we focus a lot of our attention on, the lower levels, the elementary school levels, but then these kids have to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can only put so many annexes on buildings and you then have to go to find new real estate. But I know 4 buildings are going up in Rego Park.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to have to be prepared for that. And I just want to say that Monica was having technical difficulties. So I don't know if
Yes.
she's on yet.
I'm on now. Thank you,
Okay.
everybody.
Okay.
We're in
I'm-
modern times. It happens, right, with technology. But great to be back. Hello, everyone. So I'm just gonna start the Q&A here. For the parents who have questions, just make sure that the question is clear. Please don't write a complete documentary. We want a concise question so that everybody can benefit from the answer of your question. So we're going to start with, there's a question here about the Resoway projects. When will outstanding Resoway projects resume?
Mm-hmm. So Monica, the vast majority of our Resoway projects have resumed and are back into active design, scope, and or construction. If there's a specific, specific project we could look up for you, that would be fine. We'd be happy to do that. There's just a few that haven't restarted, but the vast majority of them have.
Monica, this is Mike. The reason the few have not restarted is because those spaces would be deemed that we were taking away classroom space from kids. And in this current climate, we wouldn't do that. So they will start when we have that luxury again of space.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because of COVID and everything that's going
Correct.
on.
Right, and maintaining the maximum amount of capacity for the buildings that I have.
Okay, great. What are SEA plans to meet ventilation needs in school buildings prior to a full capacity fall reopening?
So ventilation falls with our colleagues at Division of School Facilities, and currently they are responsible to continue to maintain the systems. If they have a concern or they have an incapability on a specific school to school basis, they will be reaching out to SCA for our support.
Great. Also over here it says overall enrollment in the DOE is down and expected to further decline. Where is the SCA getting the data that always indicates seat need?
So I'm sorry. So for Queens districts are always or have been the most overutilized districts in the city. Even with the recent decline of enrollment, there are still a lot of schools experiencing overutilization. Additionally, our plan is also funding seats in anticipation of the housing development in many areas of the borough of Queens. We will continue to closely monitor the trend of our school system with our DOE colleagues and make sure that we change in this trend is not temporary before an adjustment can be made.
Aside from housing trends, do you guys also look at birth certificates to make an assessment? Is that one of the factors as well when looking at housing trends?
We look at births, housing, we look at the number of students that come, the number of students that leave our schools. We look at, we work with all of our colleagues throughout city government to ascertain what over the next 5 to 10 years, what the development trends are, where population grows. We look at immigration. We look at federal policy, how that influences immigration. We have demographic experts that look at every fact that they can possibly get their hands on. And then we drill down to DOB permits. Who's getting a permit to do what in our communities? So once we put all of that into the hopper, we come up with a number. We don't want to make a decision or a change at this time based upon the last year. That would be a big mistake, we think. We don't, if I ask anybody on this call right now, what's going to happen to New York City's population over the next 12 months, I think everyone would flip a coin and try and figure it out. None of us know, so we're not making any rash decisions at this time. We'll wait and see.
Mhm.
Talking about seat need, I don't know if you guys discussed, for any of the parents or principals watching out there, I know baccalaureate was discussed just now, but if anybody knows of big properties that are being sold or up for lease, please let us know. Danielle, if you can also maybe say the department, the division within the SCA that looks at the properties, because I know in New York, we don't have the luxury of having big pieces of land readily available, where we can pick and choose and be picky. Anything that we can get that is a sizable amount, we like for the SCA to look at. Michael, I don't know if you can say how big of a square footage is the 15,000 square feet that you guys look at, or a little bit smaller now because of the lack of properties?
That's usually 20,000 square feet. And if you have any ideas that you want to send our way, you send it to sites, SITES, at nycsca.org.
Great, thank you. There's a question here. Where are they looking to cite any new Queens high schools specifically?
So we're looking to cite the new high school, of course, on 53rd Street and Northern Boulevard in Jackson Heights, with 3,000 new seats opening in September of 2025. We also have the Academy of American Studies, Cardozo, Francis Lewis, annexes for those two, and our newest site on 165th Street and Hillside Avenue.
Talking about Academy of American Studies, I know that school is under construction right now, and because of COVID, we all understand, what happened with everything, and construction had to start. So I understand, the school was looking for support to see if they can open up in February of 2022. How is that
Yes.
looking with the SCA? Is
Yes,
the SCA support
that's
that?
confirmed.
Yeah, we've had
That's
those
terrific.
conversations with the principal, and we have confirmed we'll be opening the building in time for February 2022.
All right, great. So any of the parents listening up from Academy of American Studies, that's great news. Thank you.
They come to the PEP meeting every month now. We have about 10 kids who come and ask, and thank you in advance for all of your help.
Yeah, they have a really great student body there. They're very active in government, and I remember that they used to be like lobbyists in a way in order to get the new building, because they were using the building across the street for the different amenities, for the gym, for the auditorium. So now they're going to actually have a brand new building. So good for them. We're very, very, very happy for them. And that brings me to another school, Eagle Academy in School District 29. Eagle Academy, we understand, has had several issues construction-wise with water leakage and other issues going on. Also, many of the students are very tall, and the school originally, the building wasn't meant for a high school. It was originally an elementary school. So what are the possibilities of Eagle Academy getting a bigger site for their students within the vicinity in School District 29? Is that something the SCA can explore?
Well, we never say no, and we never say never, because we wish we had enough funding to say yes to everything, quite honestly.
But spend more money in Queens, because Queens has not got its fair share. So there's money. We just need Queens.
Yes, I agree. And I mean, we have very generous council members in Queens, and in my tenure at SCA for over 6 years now, I watched one district need over 10,000 seats and is down to about 700. So we do continuously produce capacity in Queens, in the borough of Queens, and we will. I mean, it's mostly a residential borough. We're always going to look for new real estate here, and we know that the potential of new capacity need will always be here, so we need to keep up with it. Regarding Eagle Academy specifically, what Monica had brought up, we don't want to say no to it. It does have a lease site. The building is assigned to that site. I'm sorry, the school organization is assigned to that site. As other properties become available, Monica, we will explore every potential option that comes to us. We know the need is there in Queens for high school seats, and then it truly will be up to Department of Education as to who goes into what buildings. That's
Monica,
not something SCA, it's not our discretion. We build the buildings and the DOE fills the buildings.
It would be a little foolhardy if we need about 3,000 or 4,000 high school seats to walk away from a functioning building that we have high school seats in now, and move a school into this new space, because then we would still be in the hole. We'd be deeper in the hole than we are now.
Yeah,
So,
can I just ask on that for the seats? You know, at some point we needed 10,000 seats, and then they started reducing our number of seats. But our population is growing in Queens, so our seat base is growing. So how do we like lose, 2,000 seats? I think it's over the last year. Monica, you might know, but out of the blue, one day we didn't need the same amount of seats. So
capital plan is a living document. It changes every year. And so sometimes the needs go up and sometimes the needs go down. And in some districts, they go way up, and in some districts, they level off. In some districts, they actually do go down. As in previous chat room comments said, DOE population is actually decreasing. So, and in some districts, we find that. So it's constantly fluctuating day by day. And so this is an ongoing struggle and an ongoing effort on our part and all of our demographic agents' part to try and stay up to and on top of those numbers. So next capital plan could be different again, but that's why we keep changing it.
Yeah, there's a question here. It says, can the capital plan funding be used to fix a large sidewalk in front of a school building?
So typically the capital, I would say our colleagues at Division of School Facilities would be using their budget and their funding for the school to fix flags and sidewalks and outside of there. If it's a very large, the whole entire sidewalk, then DSF would need to refer the project over to SCA first in order for it to be looked at and considered as a capital project. So the answer is yes, SCA could potentially do sidewalks, but normally those repairs are made by our colleagues at Division of School Facilities.
And very often, if it's a large area, the DOT takes care of that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Whoever wrote that question in, if you can please email me and let me know what school that is so that I can follow up. You can send an email to education@queensbp.org, education@queensbp.org. Okay, the following question. The capital plan is the largest it has been in many years, 19.3 billion. Is all the budget being used towards repairs to school buildings and construction of new school buildings and extensions? Or is there something additional the extra billions are being used towards?
Well,
So-
if you want to answer that, take it, Dennis.
I'll say primarily, as you saw as one of Ben's slides, it's broken up into 3 different buckets of money, if you will. But yes, besides seat need and then your regular repairs or CIP window jobs, boiler conversions are there, local law projects. We have a large ADA or rather accessibility projects that will be going on in schools to try to get our schools accessible. Eventually, we want all of our buildings to be accessible. So chipping away at that part of our budget. There are some other projects. I actually saw a question in your chat regarding Argus Martin and their athletic fields. So there is a project that is being used with our with the funding in this plan to facilitate a renovation to the athletic field at August Martin, and that should be starting up probably in the next 12 months.
And I throw in Francis Lewis on that one as well. I think they're, I don't know if it's you or Parks, but they're in, major need of a renovation for their track as well. I was speaking with Councilmember Cool the other day on this. I think it was Cool. Or
That's cool.
I think it's Cool, right? And I mean, for us to fund it, I mean, we would literally have to spend a majority of our budgets, and we wanted to try to come together to get something done there. So if that's a project you're interested in partnership on, I mean, it doesn't have to be this fiscal year, it could be next fiscal year, but we would be interested in having a conversation on that.
Yeah, we're aware of that one. As you know, we have the work going on out there, so we wouldn't want to get first of all, we wouldn't want to get started on a job that would possibly be affected by the staging and everything that's going on for the addition. So that would have to wait for that reason. Also, are the funds that we have available in this plan right now at this minute for fields renovation happens to we have expended all of those funds. So, but we are aware of it. We do know it needs work. We did ask our colleagues at facilities to try and at least make it safe and usable until we can get to it. So it's on our radar. It's just we don't have the.
Now we got a federal infrastructure bill coming down the line.
Amen.
So don't say you don't have funding yet.
Okay. Well,
let's pray that it passes, and then we come back and have this conversation again.
Next week, that all could change. I never say never.
Exactly. Keep the faith.
Yeah, we have another question here. What type of high school with the new high school in Woodside, former the Sports Authority? So basically, what type of high school is that going to be?
Former, by type, but the SCA is not involved in any pedagogy or school curriculum or school programs. That's strictly a decision by the Department of Education and the high school superintendent. So we're the construction folks. We build new buildings. We're going to provide a wonderful new state-of-the-art high school facility for Queens on Northern Boulevard on that site. But we don't have anything to do with the pedagogy or curriculum or what high school, what organization goes in that building.
Can tell you there'll be 2 orgs, I believe that, right, Ben, and a D75 school as well in that.
Yes.
Okay, great. I have another question here from Morris Altman. He's talking about green boilers were mentioned. What is being done and or planned? Any other green initiatives?
Yes, there is some work that we are doing on solar panels for one. That's at least what I can think of off the top of my head. We could try to wrap our heads around together, get back to Monica with some more information on any other particular green initiatives.
If you want to take a look at our capital plan, it'll have a lot of information about that. It'll talk about green schools. It'll talk about the boilers. It'll talk about blue roofs. It'll talk about the upgrade to all our boiler systems. It drills down on a lot of that information. So it's quite extensive. So you might want to just read through that.
Yeah, looks like I got a lot of homework. This book is pretty thick. Capital plan right here.
Great. Any update? I think I had paid for a green roof on MS 53 before I left the council. Did we start that project?
Yes, we have. So we were completing the exterior modification at that building in order to facilitate the greenhouse roof at F53, and the bones are going in, if you will. So we're working from the bottom up at that site while we complete the exterior mod. We'll keep you up to date on that.
We want green roofs on like every school in Queens. I mean, that doesn't mean my entire budget. We could work collectively together, but it's a great, it's the future. We need to get these kids prepared for green energy jobs.
Absolutely.
Right. Also, PS 90 in School District 27, they're looking for an extension. They're getting pretty overcrowded, or I would say they are overcrowded. What will be the possibility of exploring that? Can somebody from the SCA check the space? I've been there.
That's Mrs. Ubertini's building, right?
Sorry?
Mrs. Ubertini's building?
Yes, Ubertini,
Right.
Principal Ubertini.
Okay, so we could have conversations, pass that on to our capital planning department, and then we can, take it from there.
Okay, that's great news. If Ms. Ubertini is on, I hope you heard. If not, I will send you an email after the meeting. Okay, great. This is a question from Jessica Zilo. There are 3 large apartment buildings going up near PS 220 and School District 28. Where will the kids who live in this building go to school? PS 220 is at capacity.
So for PS 220, or rather than the needs of the district regarding, more capacity, or rather the buildings coming online, it is a sub-district that we're actively looking for, more, we have rather funding for more projects within that sub-district of District 28. So we'll continue to actively look for real estate there. And again, just to mention that we are building the 2 additions at PS 196 and PS 206, which are close to PS 220. Perhaps our colleagues over at our Department of Education, District Planning, and the CEC 28 would, have potential to look at zoning possibilities there.
Just to add into that, though, you just, you expanded 303. You put 2 additions onto 196. Unless you go into where that hospital was, there is no space. You'll be on the highway soon. And there has to be other space other than that, 4-block area in Queens. 220 is somewhat, a couple miles down the road there. So I think we need to look for a different spot at this point.
Right. Look, I'm not saying that we're not. I did say that we're actively.
I think we're just there. And if you talk about Forest Hills High and you were able to put an addition there, they do have some space. But other than that, it's going to be hard for you to find green space.
Right. And I know PS 220 is, I think, just under a mile and a half from PS 196. So I know it's within the same sub-district, and I we can go back to the slides, but we do have an identified and funded seat need for that sub-district.
And over here, Jessica Zilo is also referring a large lot release at Queens Boulevard and 65th Street. If you guys can look into that, Queens Boulevard and 65th Road, sorry, not street, road.
65th Road.
Okay, this is from Heather. With so many housing going up in Regal Park and Forest Hills and many other zip codes over the next 5 years, why not work with developers to secure a low-level floor for 3K and pre-K learning centers?
We do that all the time.
Perfect. Okay. All right, here's another site suggested for Eagle Academy. There's a site, 230th Street and Merrick Boulevard. Used to be a Duane Reade, and now it's a vacant lot. And it's not far from the current Eagle Academy School, and it's along the same public transportation, the Q5 bus. You guys can make a notation of that. I made a note of that, and I can follow up with the SEA as well. 230th Street and Merrick Boulevard. It used to be the Duane Reade.
Sure, we'll take a look. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's see. What is the status of the project at IS 59 and School District 29 and the Library Media Center funded by Council Member Miller's office?
Okay, give me 1 second. If you want to come back to that, Monica, I'll look it up, okay?
Yeah, we'll come back to that.
Thank you.
Let's see another question here. Please put relevant questions to the topic this evening, please. Okay, with all the new buildings that is going up in Jamaica Avenue, what is being done in preparation for the incoming families in terms of school construction?
Are you referring to that big apartment building that just went up, Monica?
I believe that's what they're referring to.
Yeah, there actually may be 2 of them, but I know one is complete.
Yeah, two. More than that, Jamaica's booming.
Yeah.
So, and we bring this up because Queens is going to be where you see, and this is why I keep going back to that conversation. I hate to sound like you know, a parrot, but Queens is going to be the borough where you see absolutely the most growth over the course of the next few decades. I mean, I'm seeing it already just coming in as the borough president. I mean, rapid growth is going to happen across this borough. There are not too many places in New York City where you're going to have this, where you're going to see everything going up from Astoria to LIC to, I mean, you got Hallett's Point now. It's a proposal to develop there. We met with the developers yesterday. You got Jamaica, you got Far Rockaway. So I don't want to keep going through all of these questions on Monica on what about housing coming up. We know it's coming, and SCA needs to be prepared. And let's not play, and I say this because we've been looking at the data even before I came into the seat, and it's very clear that Queens is not keeping up with the pace of growth that we're seeing. Yet we're not seeing the school seats keeping up with the pace of growth. So there needs to be more money spent in the borough.
I think we're ready, willing, and able to spend money. I think if you look at each one of those slides that we showed you that we recognize the need.
I'm appreciative, and I'm appreciative of what you've
We're
done.
looking as hard as we possibly can for seats. We've set the money aside. We're ready to go. If you folks feel that you find a site that will help us, we're ready to take it. We're looking. We're spending. We're building.
Right, but there needs to be, what I will add is there needs to be better coordination between School Construction Authority, and this is a conversation I was having before I got here, City Planning Commission. There needs to be a meeting of the minds, a serious meeting where we're talking about this, because you're going to have Sunnyside Yards eventually. You're going to have Willets Point. You're going to, it's not going to stop. The city is growing, for all the issues we have, people still want to be here.
Well, if any assistance that you or any of the elected officials can give us, that will give us a hammer, that forces a developer to give us,
developers want you. You don't have to force them.
When it's not
guaranteed rent. You're guaranteed rent. The developers want you. We just need you to be willing.
We're with you, my friend.
That's not an issue. Developers want you.
You know what? Let me interrupt. I don't want to. I love kids. I do this job because I love kids. Ben, Danielle, we love kids. You love everybody on this. We all have one thing we can all agree on is we love kids. But you know something? There are people out there that don't love your kids as much as I love your kids. There are developers who don't want your kids in their development. Whether we pay them the rent or not, we're not the most attractive tenant.
Well, every developer I've spoken to thus far would not have refused the school, and it's something.
And you'd send them our way, please.
Yeah.
Every one of them, send them our way. We will cut a deal tomorrow.
Really? Okay.
Yes. We will cut a deal with that developer if they give us decent space that we could give our kids a quality educational space, not the basement, not the back lot,
decent, feasible space.
You send them our way, we will cut that deal in a heartbeat, my friend.
Something for outdoor play too.
What's today's date, Monica?
Monica,
they walk this down.
Send them our way.
All right.
That's really good. Hey,
but I hate, listen, I'm appreciative and I'm very happy with what you presented today, but there's a lot more work that needs to be done, and I'm here. The people are holding me accountable. So
well, we
gotta hold you accountable.
Appreciate your support, and we're with you. You're speaking to the conservative. We're to the converted. We're builders. We love to build. We love full employment. Keep it coming.
Yeah. Great, Monica. We're going to start wrapping up questions, and you want to take the last two?
Great. Yeah. Somebody just referred another property for the possible Eagle Academy, an empty grocery store. I guess it's pretty big for a school, and it's right across the street from the Duane Reed site, which I have mentioned.
Send it over. We'll take a look.
Okay, great.
Monica?
Yes.
Can I just wanted to get back before we wrap it up on IS 59's library.
Yes.
So we actually just took it off of the COVID hold. So the project is resuming. Regarding physical construction, I don't have a new schedule thus far. They literally just took it off of a hold, but it should be forthcoming within like the next 6 months or so.
Terrific. All right, wonderful. Okay, so we're gonna wrap this up. Just two more questions. Vanessa Sparks, will new construction take COVID social distancing into consideration?
Our buildings and our HVAC systems do a very, very good job in exchanging air. It's not, our new buildings are not the concern. Now, is someone going to make a decision that there should be fewer kids in classrooms because of COVID? I don't know the answer to that question. I think it's too early to make that assumption. We constantly update our specs. We constantly change them. Our transfer of air in and out of our new classrooms is excellent. It's the older buildings where it's sometimes an effort. So we're not really concerned when it comes to our new building and the air exchange that we have. Will they decide tomorrow to put half the number of kids in the classroom? I doubt it, but I really can't say, because God willing, this is all going to be behind us.
Mhm.
God willing. Okay, the DOE has pledged to end all zoning of high schools, starting with admissions for September of 2021, applications starting in September of 2021. How will this affect overcrowded high schools such as Forest Hills High School, Francis Lewis, Cardoza, Bayside High School?
What was the beginning of that question?
Sure. So the DOE has pledged to end all zoning of high schools, starting with the admissions for September of this year. So they want to know, how is this going to be affecting overcrowded high schools? We have Queens has some of the most overcrowded high schools in the 5 boroughs. We have Forest High School, Francis Lewis, Cardozo, Bayside. I know Cardozo is they're getting an extension. Francis Lewis is also getting an extension, but that's really to alleviate the overcrowding there. But once zoning, I guess this is more of a DOE.
It is. District planning.
More of a DOE
An enrollment question.
Right, enrollment. Okay, so.
Yeah. Monica, they know, the DOE knows Queens is going to be an issue. So we're going to put that on the agenda for our BP to discuss, because we have brought it to their attention in various meetings. Our borough in particular will be an issue if that happens. But there hasn't been any discussion on it since the last chancellor left. So.
Yeah, I know the borough president, he is planning a meeting with the new chancellor, Porter, so that's in process. So I know the borough president, Queens is definitely very overcrowded, and that's going to be part of what the agenda is going to be, to talk to her about Queens initiatives and the issues we have going on here in the borough of Queens. And one of them, of course, since Queens is so overcrowded because we're so popular, is the issue with the schools. I don't know, borough president, if we have time for one more question, or do you want to wrap it up?
You could do one more, and then I'll wrap up.
Okay, sure, thanks. Okay, this one says, do we need to do a better job of engaging with schools to submit projects for reserve funding, or is that not an issue? I can tell you that we had the Queensborough president has a reserve funding workshop for all of the principals and all of the CEC, Community Education Councils. And in the training, we go over how to apply for reserve funding from the Queensborough president's office. Aside from the Queensborough president's office, we also go over how schools can apply for funding for within the community, the city council members' offices as well. So, it's an important training. It's done every year, because many times, and I can tell you, before I came here to Queensborough Hall, I used to be the borough manager at the SCA, the School Construction Authority, and I can tell you that most of the times, the applications that were submitted from the community education councils was wrong for SCA capital money. So there's a difference between SCA capital money, which is $19.3 billion, and the reserve funding. And it seems like there was a disconnect with the schools and the CECs and how to apply for this reserve funding and how to apply for the community education councils. The video is up. The borough president has all the videos. If the questions from Ron Britt, If you would like, I can send you the link, or you can look it up at Queens Board President Donovan Richards on YouTube, or you can go to the queensbp.org/education, and you will find the title of it is ResOA Funding and Capital Fund.
We got like 5,000 applications, so we did something right this year. But what I would say to school leaders who are putting in requests, just make sure you're touching base with SCA, because some of y'all were just, making up fly-by-night numbers. And I'm like, I've been doing this a while. I'm like, I think this will cost more money. So just make sure you're working with SCA to sort of get some accurate assessments, so that, if we want to fund, perhaps a bigger project, we have the right numbers. But I do want to say SCA is the most effective. And I'm not thinking because they're here. Like, in all my years in working with you, it's been a real pleasure. I mean, I put 40 million into schools just in District 31 prior to being here, and SCA has been on top of it. Brian McGinn and all of you have been true, really good partners in getting these projects up and off the ground. And we also cite you as the model to other city agencies on what they should be doing to get their projects out the ground and moving as well. So I do want to give you credit, although, I had to beat you up a little bit tonight. But
yeah, and by the way, when the borough president, I'm sorry, borough president, when he said District 31, he meant the city council district.
Right.
For those parents who are watching this evening.
Hey, Monica, I want to put a plug in for the ResOA brochure that's on our website. It's sort of a how-to, and it shows you generally what projects cost and what are capital eligible. It gives you all the rules. So go to our website and check out the ResOA brochure. It's very helpful.
And we're also
Danielle, can you put the link on the chat if possible, or someone from SCA for everyone to see? Thank you.
So to the borough president's point, we're also willing to give cost estimates for any project our principals would like to see. You can always reach out to Danielle and I. We'd be happy to work with our ResOA team to provide you a cost estimate for ResOA projects.
Great, thanks. I know the Richmond Hill High School, they had submitted for funding and they didn't get any funding. If Danielle, if you can follow up with Richmond Hill High School and see what happened there, we would appreciate it.
I think I'm looking at Richmond Hill High School too.
Oh, okay, wonderful.
Danielle, I just have one more thought as we were thinking about spots for building. In Middle Village, the Atlas Park complex, which is largely unfilled and again has been for many years. And I think the Queens Library might have gone into one of the.
It went into a very small, yeah.
But that whole area could be potentially developed or redeveloped. Because most of it's vacant.
Yeah, I think there is I think there is a plan by that owner. That as well.
Yeah.
And I just want to add, the borough president met with Lorraine Grillo, the former president of the School Construction Authority, as soon as he came into office. And many of what was brought up in today's meeting, the borough president brought up, like baccalaureate, Eagle Academy, Academy of American Studies, and the borough president is following up on each school individually. So for baccalaureate and the others that are Eagle Academy, just want to let you know that these meetings are being planned. The borough president, he is extremely busy, but that is in the process. So I just want to let everybody know. So just want to thank the borough president for that.
Sure.
And if you would like to wrap it up, borough president.
Well, thank you. And I want to thank the SCA for coming on today, and really grateful for the progress that we're seeing in Queens and where we're headed. And as the father of a 5-year-old, I will say that, this is a personal interest to me. Obviously, when you become a parent, it takes on a different meaning, when you have a child in the school system as well. So it's in my interest to make sure Queens is definitely getting its fair share and everybody can get a quality education here and have state-of-the-art facilities and not have to do what I had to do when I went to Jamaica High School for some time. There were like 60 of us in a classroom. How could you get that one-on-one attention with the overcrowding back when it was called Jamaica High School? So, so I want everyone to know we're committed to this. As much as Monica says nice things about me, we're committed to this borough and look forward to continuing a strong partnership with SCA as we move forward. And thank you all for attending tonight.
Thank
So,
you.
Monica, thank you. And Deborah, thank you.
Very welcome.
Those
Thank
are
you,
the
sir.
unsung heroes. I get to get the credit, but they're the unsung
It's our
heroes.
pleasure.
Thank you, everybody. Don't forget to wash your hands, wear your mask, use your hand sanitizer, and don't forget the vaccines are, apply for the vaccine. So have a great